Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome back to Learn English with Smart podcast. I'm Chloe, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here.
And I'm James, equally thrilled, maybe even slightly more so, because today we are tackling a topic that literally everyone asks us about: how to talk to anyone with genuine, unshakable confidence.
Yes, whether you're trying to chat with a new colleague, navigating a networking event, or even just ordering coffee in a foreign country, which can feel like a high-stakes negotiation sometimes, confidence is key.
It truly is. And guess what? Confidence isn't just something you're born with, it's a muscle. And we're going to give you the verbal weights to build it up. We're talking about English phrases, intonation tips, and mindset shifts.
Let's dive straight in, James. The first major hurdle people face is initiating a conversation. That initial hello. It feels like jumping off a cliff.
It does. So let's ditch the boring and overly formal "good day, how do you do?" unless you're addressing the queen.
Or maybe a very traditional butler.
Exactly. We want phrases that are open, inviting, and show that you're comfortable. The first one is simple. Hi there. I couldn't help but notice.
I couldn't help but notice. That's brilliant because it gives you an immediate observation point. Maybe they have a cool t-shirt, or they're reading an interesting book, or maybe they just look lost.
Right. Let's practice that. Imagine you're at a conference and someone has a fantastic pair of colorful sneakers. You could say, "Hi there. I couldn't help but notice your sneakers. They're absolutely incredible. Where did you get them?"
Notice how James used that slight lift in his voice on incredible? That high pitch shows genuine interest and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is magnetic.
It is. Now, here's a slightly different scenario. You're waiting in line for something, a common situation where small talk is expected. Instead of talking about the weather, try talking about the shared experience. This line is moving slower than molasses, isn't it?
Slower than molasses. That's a great idiomatic expression. Molasses is a very thick, slow-moving syrup for our listeners who might not know.
It's relatable, slightly funny, and invites a quick, easy response. They'll likely just chuckle and agree, opening the door for you to ask something simple like, "So, what are you waiting in line for today?"
That's the key, the easy response. Confidence isn't about giving a TED Talk. It's about making the other person feel comfortable responding.
Now, let's talk about the second major area: maintaining the momentum. You've started the conversation, but how do you keep it from dying after two sentences?
This is where we need to switch from yes-no questions to open-ended questions. A confident speaker knows how to keep the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Compare these two questions. Scenario A, bad. Did you enjoy the presentation? Possible answer, yes. Conversation, dead. Scenario B, good. What was your biggest takeaway from the presentation today?
What was your biggest takeaway? That requires a thoughtful, narrative response. It asks for an opinion and a story.
And you can use this structure for almost anything. Instead of, "Do you like living here?" try, "What's your favorite thing about living in this city?"
Or if you're talking about work, instead of, is your job busy? Try, what does a typical successful day look like for you?
Notice the power of the WH words. What, why, how. They are the conversation starters.
Let's look at a quick dialogue example incorporating these open-ended questions. Mini dialogue 1, the networking event.
Hi, my name is James. I see you've been chatting with Sarah all evening. What was your biggest takeaway from her talk on market trends?
Oh, hey, James. I really enjoyed her point about social media burnout. It got me thinking. How are you personally navigating the constant noise in your industry?
That's a great question, Chloe. For me, it's all about.
See? By asking, how are you personally navigating? I showed interest in James's individual experience, not just the general topic. Confidence is personalizing the conversation. James, a big part of feeling confident in English, especially when speaking to native speakers, is handling those moments when you don't understand something. The fear of asking for clarification can be paralyzing.
It's terrifying, but a truly confident speaker is comfortable admitting they missed something. It shows humility and genuine commitment to the conversation.
So let's ditch the panicked silence or the fake nod. Here are 3 powerful, confident phrases for seeking clarification. Phrase 1, polite and direct. I apologize, but could you possibly rephrase that for me?
Could you possibly rephrase that? Very professional. It puts the responsibility on the clarity of the statement, not your lack of understanding.
Phrase 2, informal and quick. Wait, just so I'm following you correctly, are you saying that...
This is great because it shows you were listening and gives you a chance to confirm your partial understanding. You are actively participating, which is a sign of confidence.
Phrase 3, when you miss one key word. I'm sorry, what was that specific word you used? I haven't heard it before.
That is a brilliant learning opportunity. You're not saying, I don't understand anything. You're identifying a single hurdle. You turn a moment of confusion into a moment of learning and connection. Let's move on to the third vital pillar of confident conversation, expressing disagreement or opinion tactfully. Many English learners shy away from this because they fear sounding rude.
This is absolutely essential in professional and academic settings. You must be able to contribute meaningfully, even if your view is contrary.
The key is to soften your disagreement. You never want to start with a blunt, no, you're wrong. Instead, introduce a softer opening that acknowledges their point first.
Try this opening structure. That's a very valid point. However, I tend to look at it from a slightly different angle.
That's a very valid point. That simple acknowledgement disarms the situation immediately. It says, I respect your intellect, but here is my perspective.
Another excellent soft disagreement phrase. While I see your reasoning, my experience suggests that...
Or, if you want to make it sound like a collaboration, not a confrontation, I wonder if we could also consider the impact of X on that situation.
Let's quickly model that tactful disagreement. Mini dialogue 2, the team meeting. So, I firmly believe we should launch this product immediately before the competition catches up.
That's a very valid point, Chloe, and I agree speed is critical. However, I tend to look at it from a slightly different angle regarding quality control. I wonder if we could also consider the impact of rushing on our long-term reputation.
See how James used the word wonder? It makes the suggestion sound gentle and collaborative, not critical. That is the sound of confident, mature communication. James, one major challenge for non-native speakers is maintaining strong, positive energy. Sometimes they get stuck using the same basic adjectives: good, bad, nice.
And that affects confidence. If your vocabulary feels thin, you feel hesitant. So let's inject some high-impact vocabulary that shows you're enthusiastic and capable.
Instead of saying something is good, try these. It was truly outstanding, great for performance, food, results. That concept is fascinating, great for ideas, books, discussions. The atmosphere was so vibrant, great for places, events.
And instead of saying something is bad, which can sound a bit harsh, try something more descriptive yet softer. That was quite challenging. Better than bad or difficult. I found that rather disappointing. Expresses dissatisfaction without being overly aggressive. The process seems a bit cumbersome, meaning complicated and slow.
Using these higher-level adjectives immediately elevates your speech. It makes you sound more articulate. Articulation boosts confidence. We've talked about starting conversations and keeping them going, but let's not forget the ending. A confident speaker knows how to smoothly exit a conversation without making it awkward.
The escape plan. It's crucial, especially in networking environments. You don't want to just drift away awkwardly.
Our golden rule for exiting is to express gratitude and use a forward-looking statement.
Thank you so much for your insights, James. I really enjoyed our chat. I must be going, but I hope to connect with you again soon.
Notice I must be going. It's direct, but paired with the gratitude and the promise of future connection, it's entirely polite.
Thank you so much for your insights, James. I really enjoyed our chat. I must be going, but I hope to connect with you again soon. Chloe, it was a pleasure meeting you. I need to catch up with my colleague now, but I'll drop you an email about that report we discussed.
I'll drop you an email. That action item makes the transition smooth. It justifies the exit and reinforces the connection.
And one last little trick for boosting your verbal confidence, James, is using what we call confidence fillers.
Oh, I love these.
These aren't like or These are small phrases that buy you a second to think while still sounding polished.
Exactly. Instead of stammering, you insert one of these. That's an excellent question. Buys you 3 seconds. Let me think about that for a moment. Buys you 4 seconds. To be honest with you, adds gravitas and sincerity.
Using these fillers gives you a psychological edge. You sound like you're carefully considering your answer, which conveys intelligence and thoughtfulness, both hallmarks of confidence.
So, to recap our 15+ minutes of confidence training, Chloe, initiate with observation. Use phrases like, I couldn't help but notice. Maintain with openness. Focus on WH questions like, what is your biggest takeaway? Clarify confidently. Be comfortable saying, could you possibly rephrase that? Disagree tactfully. Use softening phrases like, that's a valid point, however, and exit smoothly. Combine gratitude with a forward-looking statement.
And remember the single most important element that affects how confident you sound, your prosody, the music of your speech.
Speak at a steady, measured pace. A fast pace makes you sound nervous. A slightly lower pitch tends to sound more authoritative. And use strong emphasis on key words to show your conviction.
Practice these phrases in front of a mirror, record yourself. The more comfortable the words feel coming out of your mouth, the more confident you will sound to the world.
It's all about practice, practice, practice.
Well, James, this has been an incredibly insightful session on building verbal confidence. Thank you for sharing these fantastic tips.
My pleasure, Chloe.
And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to Learn English with Smart Podcast. We hope you feel ready to go out there and talk to anyone, anywhere with newfound confidence.
Until next time, keep practicing, stay curious, and speak with confidence.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.